Welcome. I'm Eric Raber. I've been in the Army for 22 years and I'm a left-handed shooter. Okay, so today I'm going to introduce you to the bilateral rifle. What you're about to see solves a problem that has existed since the first detachable box magazine that was designed more than 60 years ago, and nobody has solved it yet. The problem is not firepower, it's access. It's distance. It's the simple, brutal physics of how far your hand has to travel to reload your weapon under fire. We've changed that. All right, so let's talk about it. The standard reload. It's built for one type of shooter. Every conventional combat rifle magazine assumes a right-handed shooter in an open firing position with full fine motor control. The moment any one of those conditions changes, left-handed shooter, cover on the wrong side, vehicle interior, wounded hand, the reload becomes slower, more dangerous, and less reliable. We've identified the root cause. The magazine well only opens in one direction, and we fixed that. All right, so let's look at the reload handicap by the numbers, right? 2 to 4 seconds under ideal conditions. And that number stretches under combat stress and a fine motor control and as fine motor control degrades. Roughly 10% of your force is left-handed and dominant in fighting with a right-hand-based weapon system. And approximately 30% of combat casualties involve upper extremity wounds. The very hands that are doing the reload is where we're struggling, right? Our target is to reload under 1 second from either side. The physics are simple. Shorter hand travel equals faster reload. Okay, introducing the bilateral magazine well. The bilateral magazine well is the core innovation. The lower receiver is architectural redesign with symmetric entry points on both the left and right sides of the receiver. One magazine, one feed path, 2 ways in. The shooter uses whichever side is in with their hand is already on. No reposition, no body rotation, no cognitive overhead, just insert and go. All right, let's look at the mechanics some more. All right, walk me through with it. Walk with me through. The lower receiver is machined with mirrored entry ports, with each one with its own magazine catch and retention geometry. The shooter depresses the catch on whichever side they're loading from. Identical motion on both sides, and rocks and locks the magazine into the common well chamber. From there, it feeds the bolt carrier group through the single shared feed ramp. Standard bolt carrier group, standard barrel, standard upper. The only difference is the lower receiver. All right, let's look at some tactical scenarios, right? Okay, I've experienced all of these scenarios. They're not made up. This is real stuff. This happens, right? So let me give you a real world scenario where it matters. So first, shooting from cover. The shooter stays behind the barricade and loads from the near side. Okay, that can apply in urban environments in general. If you're inside of a tight hallway, a room, right? If you're shooting from portholes, it's complicated. It's not that simple. Any small movement gives your position away as well. All right, second, vehicle operations. Your combined combat cabin space means one side is always obstructed. Okay, the vehicles are designed around people, not around shooting. The bilateral design uses whichever side has clearance. Third, a wounded hand. The shooter simply shifts to the other hand. No new technique, no weapon swap. And then fourth, a buddy reload. It could be used when you have a wounded hand. Your buddy can reload your weapon if you have a wounded hand. All they have to do is reload it from the outside. Okay? A teammate can reload from the opposite side while the shooter maintains muzzle orientation. None of these scenarios are edge cases. They are a Tuesday in a combat zone. So look at 3 market segments, okay? We have one technology, progressively higher contract values, right? The civilian sports shooting market, 34 million shooters strong. It gives us immediate revenue and proof of concept data. Law enforcement agencies gives us institutional validation and public visibility. The military gives us scale. And critically, in every segment, left-handed operators represent the complexity of underserved population that our system serves at zero additional cost or complexity. All right, let's look at this market, right? We have a $15 billion market. The global small arms market sits at $9.4 billion today and is forecast to reach $15.1 billion by 2034, a nearly 5% annual growth rate. The Next Generation Squad Weapon program alone represents a $4.7 billion procurement, and allied nations are on their own modernization cycles. And civilian demand is at high records. We are entering a growing market with a genuine architectural innovation, not an incremental product, not improvement, just an innovation, an architectural innovation. All right, so let's look at the Next Generation Squad Weapon System. All right, so this program, now in the hands of the 101st Airborne Division, the program itself has solved the lethality program. The XM7 hits harder at range through modern body armor, but look at the reload. It's still a 7 magazine loadout and loaded one at a time from one side. The same way soldiers have been doing it since Vietnam. Nothing has changed. All right, the Next Generation Squad Weapon System is not our competition. It is the modernization wave that makes our solution the next obvious upgrade. So let's take a look at the competitive landscape. All right, the industry has tried to address ambidextrous shooting before. Mirrored controls let you release the magazine from either side, but you still have to insert it from one. Aftermarket ambidextrous catches solve the drop, but not the insert. Left-hand conversion uppers flip the ejection port, but leave the magazine well exactly where it is. All of these solutions address the periphery. We have addressed the well itself. That is a fundamental difference, and it is defensible with IP. So let's look at our business models. Okay, we have 4 revenue channels. Near term, bilateral retrofit, lower kit, sold direct to consumers and law enforcement agencies. That's immediate cash flow, market data, and brand credibility. Midterm, government and FMS contracts at volume. Long term, OEM licensing. We hand established manufacturers the architecture and collect the royalties per unit. Every SIG, every FN, or Ruger that ships with our bilateral well is a royalty payment. That is a business model that scales without scaling our manufacturing overhead. All right, let's look at our development roadmap. So look at quarter 3 in 2026. The functional prototype and patenting filing, right? That's when that's going to happen. Quarter 4 2026, third-party validation testing. This shows the data package that unlocks institutional and government interest. The first half of 2027, the SHOT Show debut, law enforcement pilot program start, and commercial launch of retrofit kits. Second half of 2027, OEM licensing conversions and government solicitation monitoring. 2028, mil-spec testing and DoD qualification process. These are our realistic milestones, not just aspirational targets. All right. In closing, right? The reload problem is 60 years old, maybe older, right? Not because nobody noticed it, but because nobody redesigned the architecture to fix it. We did. Every shooter, left or right, injured or not, behind cover or pinned in a vehicle, deserves a rifle that works with them, not against them. We have built that rifle. We would like to put it in your hands. Let's talk.